Tonight at 10, the family of the MP, Sir David Amess, stabbed at a constituency surgery, say they've been overwhelmed by the public support. They describe him as a man of peace, and they're broken by his killing. Those responsible for security at Parliament say his death must force change.
We've got to make the best come out of this hideous killing of our colleague. And what I would say is that we will look at all different measures.
Police search a number of addresses in London as part of their investigation. And the man arrested following the killing has been named as 25-year-old Ali Harbi Ali. Also tonight, what future for Afghan women and girls under Taliban rule? We have a special report.
Don't you think the women and girls in your country deserve to know when they can go back to their education, when they can go back to their jobs?
The
Duke of Cambridge reveals the winners of his Earthshot Prize, 5 £1 million awards to help save the planet.
Has it got enough legs? No! What a catch!
And a shock in cricket's T20 World Cup as Scotland beat Bangladesh. Good evening. The family of the Conservative MP, Sir David Amess, who was stabbed to death during a constituency surgery, say they've been overwhelmed by the public support. In a statement, they said their hearts had been shattered by his killing. The suspect in custody has been named as Ali Harbi Ali. The 25-year-old is being held under the Terrorism Act, and officers have until Friday to question him. Our Home Affairs correspondent Daniel Sanford has the very latest.
A significant search operation at a large family house in London as the counter-terrorism investigation into the murder of Sir David Amess MP turned towards the capital today. This is one of 3 addresses that detectives have visited to gather evidence. Yesterday there was a police guard at this house on a leafy street in North London. Today the search operation intensified. Police have also searched a smaller house in Croydon where the suspect grew up. The man in custody is Ali Harbi Ali, 25 years old and a British national of Somali heritage. He went to school in Croydon in South London. A few years ago he was referred to the Prevent scheme, which is designed to stop people being drawn into terrorism. He was not an MI5 subject of interest. In Leigh-on-Sea, the murdered MP was being remembered at a series of church services.
Our community has been really rocked by the death of Sir David Amess.
In a statement, Sir David's family said they were absolutely broken, and then, "We ask people to set aside their differences and show kindness and love to all. This is the only way forward. Set aside hatred and work towards togetherness. Please, let some good come from this tragedy." And as the town mourned its long-serving MP, we learned more details about how Sir David's parliamentary assistant witnessed the attack.
All of a sudden there was a scream from her because the person deliberately whipped out a knife and started stabbing David. And of course the other lady who was out getting names of people and organising the people outside come running in to find the situation she did of poor David that had been stabbed.
The Home Secretary, Priti Patel, has known Sir David for over 30 years. She's encouraging individual MPs to discuss the risks they face with the police, to work out what protection they need.
There are a range of measures in place, so this isn't about just saying, let's just go for option A, have bodyguards or security. There's a panoply of measures, and we have to be proportionate in terms of the risk individuals are subject to.
Sir David was allegedly murdered in this church hall by a man who'd apparently booked an appointment to see him. But his killing may change forever how British politics works. Daniel Sanford, BBC News.
Well, the Speaker of the House of Commons, who helps oversee security around MPs, says lessons must be learned after what he called the hideous killing of Sir David. MPs are warning of increasing hostility towards politicians. Our political correspondent Damien Grammaticus has more details.
In Leigh-on-Sea today, more tributes for Sir David Amess. Many have come from his constituents, but some were from his neighbouring MPs. The killing of one of their number has shaken many. This morning, across the airwaves, they had stories of how they too have faced threats.
Do you feel safe doing your job, going around your constituency?
No, not really, if I'm honest. MPs are treated as if we weren't humans.
What we've seen is the encouragement of a climate often of hostility towards members of Parliament.
I've had people writing on my office wall, Andrew, why don't you kill yourself?
The staff are pretty scared most of the time.
I had a threat to abduct my children.
Another Essex MP who came today was Andrew Rossendale, not just a parliamentary neighbour, but a friend of Sir David.
Now there's obviously a fear that there's bad people out there that want to do harm, and David is a victim of that, and so I'm afraid it will change things.
Some MPs have had guards before now. The review of MPs' safety may consider if this should be offered to all.
Order! Order!
The Speaker of the Commons, who's overseeing the review, says MPs have to be protected, but democracy and openness too.
I don't want to go into a knee-jerk reaction to say what we need to do. Tragically, we've lost our friend, Sir David Amess. Our thoughts are with his family. And what I would want to say is that we've got to do the right thing and that we've got to make the best come out of this hideous killing of our colleague. And what I would say is that we will look at all different measures.
And those measures may involve more than just protecting physical venues. Some say a culture of abuse and threats online has to be tackled too. The MP chairing the committee looking at the new online harms bill says people shouldn't be able to hide their identities.
If a social media company does allow someone to use a false name when they create their account, that company should hold enough data and information about that individual so that the police could get access to that with a court order as part of an investigation. And users should know that even if they're not using their real name when they post, they can and will be identified if they create and cause harm to other people.
So the repercussions of this killing may go far. But first, tomorrow, the nation's politicians will meet in Parliament to remember Sir David. Damien Grammaticus, BBC News.
Well, our correspondent Duncan Kennedy is in Leigh-on-Sea for us tonight. Duncan, Sir David's family say they've been overwhelmed by the public support, and that mountain of flowers behind you at the scene where he was stabbed, that's evidence of that, clearly.
Absolutely, it is evidence on what's been another very sombre day here, culminating tonight, Clive, in the removal of the police cordon, allowing us to come close to the church for the first time since Sir David lost his life on Friday. And also culminating tonight in this really heartbreaking statement from the family. Indeed, they use the word, "we are broken within it." And then they make these urges, these pleadings for people to show love and kindness and say that no matter what race or religious or political beliefs you have, people should show tolerance and understanding between themselves. The statement comes as dozens and dozens of people came to lay their flowers here today, and of course their cards, one of which said tonight, simply "thank you to a great man." Elsewhere, there's been another church service, this time at St Michael's. In fact, the church is just opposite Sir David's constituency office, just down the road here. A very emotional occasion for people who knew and worked for Sir David. And Sir David himself was described as a man of compassion, a man of faith, and a man of honour.
Duncan, thank you. Duncan Kennedy there, live in Leigh-on-Sea in Essex. A murder inquiry is underway in Glasgow after a 14-year-old boy was stabbed in the city. Justin McLaughlin was found seriously injured at a High Street train station yesterday and later died in hospital. The attack, which police described as a shocking act of violence in broad daylight, is thought to have taken place on a platform. It's been a month since the Taliban banned girls from secondary schools across most of Afghanistan, and women, except for those in the public health sector, haven't been allowed to return to work. The fear is they're being treated once again as second-class citizens under a hardline Taliban regime. The BBC has now obtained exclusive access to the former Women's Affairs Ministry in the capital, Kabul, that's now been replaced by the feared Taliban Vice and Virtue Ministry. Our correspondent Yogita Limai has sent us this report.
At 17, her life, with all its possibilities, has been shut down. Before the Taliban took over, she would have been preparing for school along with her brother each morning. Now, Afghan girls face the biggest rollback in human rights in recent times.
خونی بسیار احساس بد است که ما 11 سال مکتب خواندیم، بی امنیتی که خصوصا چند سال آخر که بیخی امنیت نبود و ما بسیار مشکلات که یا باز خانه میاییم نمیاییم. پدر ما که معیوب است و بسیار سختی بر ما قلم کتابچه خریده باز ما در خانه بشینیم.
At the top of her class, she wanted to be a doctor.
هم‌صنفی‌های میادم میایه استاد ما کتابای ما کل چیز میخواستیم داینده یک چیزی شویم زندگی خدا پیش ببریم که کلش در گذشته ماند و ما به تاریکی ها برگشتیم.
The family lives hand to mouth, and education was their path to a better future. Under an all-male Taliban regime, women are disappearing from public life. They haven't been allowed to return to work yet. Those who've marched to claim back their rights have been beaten. We met one of the protesters who was lashed with electric cables in Kabul.
بنابراین باید یک قشر این جیبه خود قربانی کنه. ما واقعا خود در خطر پرتیم چون ما افغانستان در دولت.
Till August, she supported her family of 6. Now, she's out of a job.
اما وقت طرف اولادای میبینم بسیار دردآور است زندگی بره چون آینده اولادم بسیار تاریک و نامعلوم است و از اینکه خودم استقلالیت خود ندارم و از اینکه نمیتونم واقعا تحصیلی که کردم و آرزوها و آرمانهایی که داشتم.
The Taliban are keen to show they're more moderate than their last time in power. Their actions so far belie the claims. This used to be the Women's Affairs Ministry, which no longer exists under the Taliban government. It's been replaced by the Ministry of Vice and Virtue, which used to be the most feared section of the previous Taliban regime. What future do women have in an Afghanistan ruled by the Taliban? We're here to ask. It's hard to imagine Afghan women journalists would get to question the Taliban like this. Surrounded by their men, I asked a Taliban spokesman when girls could go back to school, women to work.
دا چې هغوی خپله نه ځي موږ خو څوک په زور نه سو راکش کولی چې تاسو مکتب ته لاړ شئ په عموم کې موږ منع نه ده کړې ما مخکې وویل چې موږ پلان لرو چې په ټول هیواد کې دغه مکتبونه یا ښوونځي د جنکۍ پر مخ خلاص شي.
Your government, your leaders have said that women should not return to work right now because of the security situation. You've said the same thing about girls going to secondary schools. So it's not true that you have allowed them and they are not going.
هغوی په لومړی کې ونه شو کړلی چې دومره زر جنکۍ ته د مکتب ته تګ لاره برابره کړي بلکې کلونه یې واخیستل. نو تاسو ولې په موږ باندې دومره اصرار کوئ چې یوازې یو څو ورځې وروسته موږ وکولی شو چې هغوی ته دا زمینه برابره کړو.
How much time don't you think the women and girls in your country deserve to know when they can go back to their education, when they can go back to their jobs?
څومره چې زر موږ کولی شو لار به ورته برابره کړو. نورو ادارو کې چې دوی حق جوړیږي او د دوی ته ضرورت وي په هغو ټولو ادارو کې به دوی کار کوي.
They are the future of Afghanistan, but half of this country's population has no place in it right now. Afghan girls are asking if the world will hold the Taliban to account. Yogita Limai, BBC News, Kabul.
At least 26 people have died and others are missing after heavy rain caused landslides and floods in the southern Indian state of Kerala. Homes were damaged and trees and power lines have been brought down. Many towns and villages remain cut off. The Indian military are assisting emergency teams. Here, the government's latest coronavirus figures show there were 45,140 new infections recorded in the latest 24-hour period, which means there were 42,869 cases per day in the past week. There were another 57 deaths, that's of people who died within 28 days of a positive test. On average, there were 122 deaths per day in the past week. On vaccinations, 85.9% of the population aged 12 and over have had their first dose and 78.9% have been double jabbed. Now, the winners of the Duke of Cambridge's inaugural Earthshot Prize have been announced. The awards celebrate the most innovative solutions to environmental problems. There were 5 £1 million prizes at a ceremony at the Alexandra Palace in London. Our science editor David Shookman was there.
Each year, we will award 5 £1 million prizes to those who we believe can transform our chances of repairing our planet.
Inspired by the missions to the moon, the aim is to heal planet Earth, to try to tackle the most serious environmental problems. At the ceremony to hand out the awards, a call to action from Sir David Attenborough.
We don't have eternity. We need to do this now and over the next 10 years. And if we do put our minds to it, I believe we can do that.
Congratulations to Holby.
The winning teams are mostly small but with big potential. A project to grow coral in the Bahamas, using special tanks to speed up the process of restoring reefs. A portable machine developed in India to turn agricultural waste into fertiliser so that farmers don't burn their fields and cause air pollution. And a clever design in Thailand using renewable energy to make hydrogen.
Winning this prize is recognition that we are going in the right direction. It will support us to go into mass production, and it will boost us towards our goal of accelerating the access of green hydrogen for everyone.
The Earthshot for Build a Waste-Free World goes to the city of Milan.
Another global challenge is waste, and the city of Milan wins a prize for collecting unused food and giving it to people who need it most. The final prize for restoring nature went to Costa Rica, a country that once cleared most of its forests but has now doubled the number of trees. The plan now is for the winning projects to be scaled up so that they can make a real difference globally. We'll have to see how well that works out in practice, but in any event they'll offer something badly needed in the run-up to the climate summit in Glasgow next month, a sense of optimism. David Shookman, BBC News.
Now, with all the sport, here's John Watson at the BBC Sports Centre. Hi there, John.
Clive, many thanks. Good evening. The men's T20 Cricket World Cup began a year later than planned as Scotland produced a result worth waiting for, beating Bangladesh to boost their hopes of qualifying for the main group stage. Oman also won on the opening day of the tournament, one England will ultimately hope to win to add to their 50-over triumph. As Joe Wilson reports.
An Arabian night, a true World Cup story. Scotland were facing the best team in this first group stage, Bangladesh, ranked far higher. Captain Kyle Kutzer didn't score.
Time for a celebration.
A Bangladesh party, complete with balloons. But Chris Greaves, in only his second international match, made 45. And Scotland's total was 140, with that just a sense that anything could happen. Bangladesh batted and quickly faltered. And then Greaves bowled, and Shakib Al Hassan, a true great of modern cricket, walloped it straight to the fielder.
And it's all smiles for the Scots.
That was the moment, not yet the match. Scotland had to hold their nerve and the catches. Balloons intact, but the mood had burst. Bangladesh finished 6 runs short.
It's a great night for Scotland.
Scotland have 2 more matches in this stage, but the route to the main tournament, to the big league, is wide open. This World Cup was moved to the Arabian Peninsula for COVID security, basically. Oman's hosting a few matches. They qualified to play too and overwhelmed Papua New Guinea in the opening game, chasing the winning total without losing a wicket. For Scotland, it's Papua New Guinea on Tuesday. Joe Wilson, BBC News.
Newcastle United faced Tottenham today, their first Premier League game since the Saudi-backed takeover of the club. The match had to be temporarily suspended after a medical emergency in the crowd. Katie Gornall's report does reveal the score from today's game.
St James's Park reawakened. After the doom and gloom of Mike Ashley's 14-year reign, here was something completely different, a celebration, despite the controversies surrounding their new Saudi Arabian-backed owners.
The new revolution in Newcastle, I cannot wait. I've had a season ticket for like 8 years now, it's amazing.
I'm hoping when we're going that the atmosphere and everything's going to be great. It's just going to be a new start.
It's nothing to do with politics, just football. Football, money, we're rich. It's all that matters.
It'll be an amazing atmosphere. Everyone's really excited. I think it'll just be an atmosphere that we haven't seen for quite some time at St James's Park.
Inside there was a festival atmosphere, with new faces in the director's box and a familiar one in the dugout, although few expected Steve Bruce's 1000th game in management to arrive here. At times he felt like an unwelcome guest at a party. But the game was marred by a medical emergency in the crowd, which saw play suspended for 24 minutes. Fans and players alerted medical staff, allowing a supporter to receive treatment before being stabilised and taken to hospital. When the game resumed, Newcastle found themselves on the end of a 3-2 defeat. The early optimism had gone. Defeat means Newcastle remains second bottom of the Premier League with just 3 points all season. It's a stark reminder of the scale of the task ahead for the new owners, who have some big decisions to make. Katie Gornall, BBC News in Newcastle.
Saracens humiliated Bath in Rugby Union's Premiership, winning by 71 points to 17 at the Rec. They ran in 10 tries and were already 45 points up without reply at half-time. As they climb to third, it leaves Bath rooted to the bottom, this their heaviest home defeat in the competition. A reminder, the new men's British #1 Cameron Norrie is in action in the final of India and Wales from midnight tonight. You can follow live commentary on BBC Radio 5 Live. That, though, is all from me for now. Clive.
John, thank you for that. John Watson there. And that's it. There's more throughout the evening on the BBC News channel, but now on BBC One. Time for the news where you are. Have a very good night.